War Eagle, everybody, we have got a reaction stream for you. It is A-Day, and we just watched the Auburn Football 2024 A-Day game. Lots to discuss with this, and a lot of it is good things. So let's talk about it, give you our reaction, and of course, we want to hear your reactions too. All that's coming up right now. War Eagle Auburn family, and a special War Eagle and welcome to you, those of you that consider yourselves part of our E2C network family. Thank you so much for joining us, being here, and being part of our stream today. As is always the case, we'd love you to start the stream if you feel like we earned it, if we've deserved it, by smashing the like button. You can do that live, you can do it on the replay, but it's very much appreciated in helping others find our content out there and helping join our little family within the Auburn family. For today, we've got a reaction stream for you. And the last, I think, at least of this athletic calendar year that I know will be of a true traditional reaction stream, with basketball being done, this football game being done. We do some for baseball, but those are a little bit different. So enjoy this one, folks. This is going to be the last time you see me maybe in the mobile broadcast studio until we get back together in the fall, but there's plenty of content coming out. But enough about the future. Let's talk about what may be Auburn's future based off what we saw today in the spring game. I want to know your thoughts. I want to know your comments. I want to know your questions, your somewhat derogatory rebuttals. If they're productive to the conversation, I think a lot can be taken away from today. But I also think, on the other flip side of that, that you should be very careful about what you take away from today too. We still need to talk about it. We still need to react to it. So let me offer some initial things at the start as you guys are coming in. Let me know where you're watching from too as you're smashing that like button. Would love to know who's here hanging out with us. We obviously know the story of the day is not just the kicking game, and it's not even Alex McPherson because he has been injured and was not participating today. But it is one hometown hero, Towns Magoo. Towns Magoo with 6 for 6, I think, on the day, finishing with a 58-yard field goal to win it for the offense, or whichever color team they're supposed to be. The offense, essentially, because that's how it was structured. That is probably the biggest story today. The other big story, you know him, you know what I'm about to say, Cam Coleman had himself a day. Now, when I say that, let's acknowledge that it wasn't like the most amazing day ever in a spring practice, but from what we've heard, from what we've seen of Cam Coleman, at least speculation-wise, practice-wise, the hype lives up to it, does it not? So that was a nice surprise. Those are probably the two biggest things. Of course, we want to talk about quarterbacks a little bit. I also want to give a shout out initially to the defense as well. Really liked the feel of what we did get to see defensive wise under DJ Durkin. I really got a good feeling about that. So just some initial reactions off the top from me. We'll dive into some more details. I've got the stats pulled up too, if y'all want to dive into those a little bit more, talk about a few of those things. But this is a reaction stream, so we're going to go pretty much where you want us to go. We've got a lot of fine folks checking in today. I see Kevin, I see Devin, I see Neil, PJ from South Alabama checking in. Lots of WT from Pelham. Good to see you here. Thanks for hanging out with us here on the stream today. Devin points us out right here, just how I started the show. Got a good backup kicker. Is it, folks? I want y'all to just think about this for a second. Just take this in. Auburn has not been wanting for specialists, much less field goal kickers, for a long time. And I struggle to think of a time during my, at least the time of my life, that I've been paying close attention, like I do now, to Auburn football, meaning probably when I was like 13 years old when I really sat down. I can't think of a time where we struggled to find a good kicker. Now, we've had kickers who've had some, tendencies and stuff like that, but we haven't struggled. The point of this is you have two very good kickers. Can I just remind everybody that Alex McPherson was 100% last year, and this is your backup. Why are we starting with a kicker as our initial topic of conversation after A-Day game? No, not because it was a boring day, but because it was an amazing day for one Townsman Go. Got to give him some credit. Got ourselves just enjoy it is what I'm saying. Neil, if that wasn't good enough, I'm going to tell you this too. After last year, especially, and the abysmal time we all had, if you were here, this was amazing. Absolutely amazing weather, absolutely amazing scenery. You couldn't have asked for a better banner day for the Chamber of Commerce, for Auburn, for the university, the game. Outstanding. Just the good Lord above did good today. That's all I'm going to say, in giving us sweet, cool temperatures in the morning. And if you're in the shade, and which I found some finally in the stadium, you every once in a while the wind would whip by and you'd be like, hey man, it's still a little cool out there. But if you're in that sun though, it was you get a little warm and toasty. You can see I'm a little burnt because it took me a while to figure out I could move back to the shade. But man, what a beautiful, beautiful day. Devin wants to talk about quarterbacks had good and bad moments. It's Peyton Thorne's until it's not. I think not. You think it is. That's what I've been telling y'all. not just you, Devin, but everybody, everywhere I get a chance to talk about. This is what I've been. It is Peyton Thorne's job until proven otherwise, and it ain't happening yet. So we all need to get on board with that. As a collective, not as individual. Well, some individuals, but as a collective, we need to. People are fawning over that overthrow by Hank Brown to Cam Coleman. One throw does not a starter make. Now, I want to take that for a second. I really love that. And as much as I have talked about how Hank Brown is getting a little too much clout for the great things he did in garbage time of a bowl game that was over after the first drive for us, I want to give him some credit. I think I need to go back and look at the stats. He looked at times okay today. Again, you got to be careful with what you take with on Stark problems. Here's what I will say with it. It is an overthrow, in my opinion. But think about these guys have been practicing with Cam, and they know his catch radius. It could have been he's just kind of anticipating Cam Coleman being there, and boy, was he. So even though, yes, it may be an overthrow, I think we need to give credit that he knows his guy, and maybe a slight overthrow with just anticipating what might have happened there. Robert Lewis, great thing to bring up here as well. I don't know who to credit this to, but a lot of people have been talking about the fact that Robert Lewis needs to be talked about more. And I feel like I've also said that a little bit, but I'm not going to act like I'm the one that's cornered the market on that. Robert Lewis had a good day today. In fact, let me look up his stats for you all. Receiving, he leads today on receptions with 5, 73 yards total, his long of 40. He was targeted 8 times, so he got 5 out of the 8 he was targeted with, and had a 14.6 average. Even though he doesn't get the most yards today, he is clearly your best wide receiver. And let me just remind you folks, we love Cam Coleman. We like the guys like Bryce Kane, who's already here. The guys are coming in, Perry Thompson. But folks, Auburn's got some talent at wide receiver. Now, will it come together as a unit? That's the big question. But I like what I saw out of Robert Lewis today. I truly, truly do. Brian, were you not able to watch the game? How did the offense do? The offense did okay, not outstanding. They won, which you would hope they would be able to. You might be able to argue they moved that field goal up, that last field goal up a little bit. You might be able to argue, should they have won? But hey, it's A-Day, it's spring. He got to kick a 58-yarder and make it. What the heck, man? It's just a spring game. So that was incredible. The offense, especially from my opinion, looking at it in the first half, the first 2 teams going out led by Peyton, and then Holden did not have, it was pretty quick. The defense established themselves. And then after that point, things got a little bit progressively better. Cam started showing himself with Hank Brown, and then a couple other things started happening. The run game wasn't all that impressive, but it's an A-Day game. So don't walk away with too many hardcore opinions about it. Your buddy went to A-Day game, was impressed. I think you can walk away today and say you could be impressed. I think that's a fair statement. I think the team definitely seemed more cohesive, more together. I liked what I saw out of Peyton. I forget which play it was in his first drive, but his receivers were misaligned and he's like getting on to them. So this is a guy who knows what he's doing, has the clout and the, understanding of his teammates to be able to coach them up like that. And you're the leader of the offense. So that was a good thing to see too. So those are some of the things initially. What else do you guys want to talk about? What else is on your mind? I can go through some stats and talk about those things if you'd like, but I'd like to know what you have on your mind for everything else. 55-yard kicker for a freshman. I think Alex is in good hands with Towns Magoo. I keep saying Magoo because someone told me that's how it was pronounced, and it's not. It was actually 58, if I'm not mistaken. I can go back and check on the stats here in just a second. They had Hugh on the broadcast a few times. We could see him being talked to by the broadcast, but we couldn't hear that part of it. But yeah, I could tell a few times he was like, "Hey man, let me coach my team here." But he's got to do what he's got to do. Have not stopped at Buc-ee's. I will probably make at least a gas stop, but that's a good question. Anytime in Auburn, I usually swing by at least once. That was for overall offense, not just the kick towards the end. Were you impressed overall with it, I guess is what you're asking? I said earlier, I think you could be impressed with this offense, especially if you're coming from the point of view that, wow, it's been pretty bad. And I understand that. I wouldn't say that I was impressed. I was just pleased. I think I don't know if I'm just, fighting a war of words here, but that to me kind of more conveys what I walk away with. I don't walk away concerned. For instance, like last year, conditions were so bad. He just got here. Everything was just nothing was going the way we needed to go. So you can't walk away with any definitive things here. You probably could make some assumptions about definitive things, quarterback races. Is Cam Coleman for real? Is our second kicker amazing? You can walk away with some very strong conclusions about some things and not be too far off base and not just be a crazy message board warrior. But yeah, I would say I was pleased. I would say I wouldn't go so far to say impressed. But yeah, keep the comments coming. We'll address them as they come up. Let me give you some stats. Peyton Thorne on the day. Here's your passing. 9 for 13, 133 yards in that touchdown to Cam Coleman, which, if we're going to give Hank credit or give him a little bit of critique for overthrowing, you could probably make the case that was underthrown, and that maybe that was by intention, but it didn't look all that intended to me. The difference is you can see Cam Coleman just makes a difference. So boy's good, at least in high school and a spring game, boy's good. So his legend is just continuing to build. Great day for Peyton Thorne overall. Walker White on the day, 5 for 13, 83 yards. Hank Brown, 5 for 12 with 103. So he had that big old bomb, that 42-yard catch to Cam Coleman. I'm sorry, that was actually his completion percentage, not his long. He doesn't have his long listed here. Holden Garner, 7 for 10. So a little bit more efficient for him today than the other two backups, and 46 yards for him. So I think when we ask the question, are you impressed with the offense? Are you happy? Are you pleased with the offense? It really comes down to, again, as it always does, what did the quarterback situation look like? I think you could walk away from quarterback play today and be pleased, maybe impressed if you're that desperate. But yeah. Is it a good quarterback competition? It depends on what you mean by that. It's Peyton. There is a quarterback competition, as there always is, but this is Peyton Thorne's job, and he displayed today that he is clearly ahead of everybody else. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, everybody except Walker got equal amounts of drives. And so it can't be said, well, yeah, he got more opportunities or he didn't have as many opportunities, so maybe his just ones were that great. If it was pretty fair across the board, and everybody's mixing and matching players for the most part, not always, but the most part, we can walk away from this alone and say, we've been saying this for a long time, Peyton Thorne's the lead quarterback. He clearly is still. So we all need to, if you're not, or if anybody else isn't, you need to kind of accept that and have them accept it as well. Boy, did we hit a lot of receivers today. I will talk about the big ones again, but let me just mention all the names. Robert Lewis, Cam Coleman, Camden Brown, Sam Jackson. Nice to see him get into the mix. Will Upton, McConaughey, Rico Walker, Dylan Gentry, Brian Matee. Who is Jones on there? I forget. Jay Fair, Brandon Frazier. I think it's Jason Cruz, Mike O'Reilly, and then Rivaldo Fairweather. Fairweather only gets that one throw, and it was for -1 yards. Something that was pretty interesting to see, and you see this every single year, is the star players, for the most part, don't get utilized a whole lot outside of the first couple of series. So Rivaldo at least get thrown to all that much, because we know what Rivaldo can do. We know what Jarquez can do. I'll talk about rushing in a second. But yeah. Ryan, I don't know if I made it clear. Who is it down to, Peyton or Hank? It's not down to anybody. I mean, it's not down to 2. It's down to 1. That's end of story. Like right now, Peyton Thorne's your quarterback. Peyton Thorne's your quarterback. It's a question of who's the backup. I think you could say right now it's pretty even between Holden and Hank. I think Hank continues to show he's very competent and very athletic. I think Holden, I like to give him the name Mr. Reliable. As I said, 7 for 10 today, was pretty efficient with the ball with the amount of times he had it. I'm not saying he was super impressive by any stretch of the imagination, but to me, I hate to use this phrase, but game manager. So to further answer your question, it's not down to this and this. It is Peyton's job. And I haven't watched the press conference yet. I would imagine that was probably the sentiment right there. He was told to be in the pole position coming into this. Nothing happened today to knock him off that pole position. So he is your starter. It's down to someone else in terms of backups. WT says, I see a lot of people saying how good the passing game was in the scrimmage, but it can also be a negative as they were defended by the AU pass defense. You have to balance your opinions of the game. I think, yeah, you definitely need to balance your opinions. I walked away, if I was impressed with something, I was impressed with our defense in terms of the turnaround in a spring game from what we knew of the defense last year. I walk away pleased, impressed, if you can be impressed in the spring game with the defense. The passing game took a while to get going in terms of consistently and, hitting their bigger throws more consistently. And you're rotating more people in. As you go throughout the game, you're going to use some more players that you don't typically use. So you got to keep that in mind too. I think defense did good today when you consider all those things in together. I feel like the receivers made catches they weren't making last year. I know it's just spring, but they look sharper. I will agree with you, except for, and y'all know I do not like, not because it's not a fair thing to say, but I just don't like harping on people. But Camden Brown dropped a few balls today, and that's been a thing on him. And at least that I remember. Let me go back and just look at what the stats say. And I know other people did as well. Robert had a pretty bad drop at the very end of the game too. They hit him like square in the hands, I think is what it was. Camden Brown, he is 3 receptions on 4 targets. So he only missed the one. I had that incorrect. I thought he had missed 2. Maybe the one was a deflection he never got his hands on. Thus, not really his fault. But yes and no, in my opinion. More catches than we typically would make, like actually hitting us in the hands. But still some improvement, like, as you said. Still look, but maybe a little bit sharper, which is all we can ask for, right? 89 going to be nice. 89, is that Dylan Gentry? Is that who we're talking about? With 1 catch for 22 yards. Is that who you're talking about, Martin? Maybe. If that's who we're talking about. I don't know though. I think it feels a lot like the Hank Brown talk of everybody getting excited about a handful of things. So I'm not trying to disparage Hank Brown. I'm not trying to disparage Dylan Gentry. I think to say that they are factoring heavily into the offense come fall as of this moment is not a fair statement right now. Things definitely can change. and they better both be ready because they could be called upon in a moment's notice. But happy for him, one catch for 22 today. That's something to get excited about. Happy to have him out there though. All right, we haven't talked about rushing, and I know why, because I think if you have a negative, it is the run game or lack there. Well, I shouldn't say lack thereof. It's a spring game. Damari Alston is the one that probably gets the most shine today. 6 carries for 21 yards, along of 13, 3.5 average. Jeremiah Cobb, 6 for 12. Not a great day for him, but he had at least one drive or play where he gutted it out to get a first down. He's known for being an outside the tackles type of guy and continuing to show that he can buck that trend. Justin Jones got the ball quite a few times. Burnett did as well. And then Brian Battie got the ball a few times too. But, and then there were the quarterbacks running around, things like that. Jarquez, 4 carries for 0 yards. So he wasn't getting a lot of room and not a lot of attempts at that. If I walk away today being concerned about something, if you walk away, okay, how about this? Let me ask the room. What's your one concern from today? Because let's be fair, I don't want us to just act like, oh, it was a great spring day. It was a good spring game. But what's your one bad thing or thing that you were worried about that you saw today? To me, it's not just the offensive line. It was the lack of push against our guys. Now, that could be maybe our defensive line's a lot better than we thought they were. I don't know that I'm subscribing to that yet. But there you go. What was the totals for attendance today? Sometimes they give us that information on this thing I use. Let us see here. Don't think we have an attendance. Oh, we do. It is listed on and this is something that most media people use, 33,000. That's pretty good. I was thinking about this when we were doing, like taking a break between plays. What if we had everybody pack in? What would we fill in? I think we would fill in either side of the lower bowl if you don't count the curvature of it, which would be about 30,000. I was going to guesstimate, close to approaching 40, but not 40, a little bit under that. So 33,000, a lot better than last year. And with the weather today, I think it was very much deserving of that crowd. So good crowd in attendance. There was good energy in the stadium today for a spring game. I don't know off the top of my head. I saw him a lot. Obviously, he had a few catches. That wasn't Dylan Gentry, I believe. Let's see. See if we can pick out who it may have been. Somebody in the chat, you guys may know before I even get to it. Where is our list of people? I believe it may have been one of our backup walk-ons that maybe wasn't supposed to get hit, and he did a couple times. Don't know. So, nobody's offered up what you would have liked to have happen better, what you maybe weren't happy with. I think today, honestly, if you are having a hard time coming up with something that you're upset about, and it is a spring game, keep in mind, that tells you something. Everybody handled business today. We got to see a few things. The video people knew that we all wanted to see Cam Coleman, and they obliged in that. I'll just say this, outside of just the game, I think today was a good precursor of what A-Day could be, with some more sustained success and what it should be with good weather and stuff like that. So my hope and my desire is that one day we're going to look at that RV park. I took a video of it. I haven't shared it yet, of just filled with RVs for an A-Day game. And there were a few out there, but I think people are missing it. And I hope one day that we can get it to be actually an evening game, just in case it is a little warm. And if it's cooler, it just feels like football weather. That would be great. And it would have more of a hype build up to it, if you can do that whole playing a different opponent thing. Bryant says no concerns because it's just a spring game, just a glimpse of what's to come. I think that's fair. I think it's fair to say you don't have any concerns. I didn't see anything today that made me go, huh? Okay, well, we got a problem. I would say the offensive line rush attack was left a lot to be desired. You might be able to say you're a little bit concerned with the way the passing game got going more. Maybe our defensive backs. We lost the whole group back there. Kay and Lee made some great plays too. In fact, let me look. So how about this? I'd love to do this in the chat, maybe as we start rounding out our show. I want your players of the game. Give me an offensive, give me a defensive. We know who your special teams is going to be, but who's your offensive, your defensive player of the game, or just somebody that you want to give a shout out. It doesn't have to be the obvious answers there. Who would you say is going to be those players of the game for you? Let's see if I can find defense. Keontae Scott. Oh, a bunch of people with 3. Keontae Scott, Jaron Thompson, Robert Woodyard had a really nice play out in the flats. Griffin Speaks, Jamison Travis, and Laquan Robin. But actually, Laquan had 2. But those were your leading tacklers with 3. Jaron Thompson got a sack. He must have been the one that came off the edge there really quickly, ruined a potential touchdown, I think. 2 sacks for Jamison Travis. Wow, he probably is your guy of the day. Kayan Lee has 2. A lot of people have 2. So nobody really took the lead, in my opinion, but you could probably make a case. Shout out to the long snapper. They never get respect. Well, they got work today. They got work today. So that was, I guess, a day for the specialists to shine, very much so. All right, as a final note, I want to remind you guys, we started talking about Towns Mago. I want to remind you guys of what just happened. Towns Mago went, as I struggle to find this page I need to be on for, tell you exactly what he did. He goes 1, 2, 3, is it 7? Oh my gosh, it's 7. I just created one. 7 field goals, 7 for 7 on field goals. I first said it was 5, then I said it was 6. It is 7 for 7 on field goals, along of 58. So it was 36, 33, 34, 43, 49, 26, and then 58. He also had an extra point. So he is technically your offensive guy of the day. But I think you got to give it to Cam Coleman. Actually, you know what? I'm going to give it to Robert Lewis offensively. And then I'm going to give Quintrell, Jamison Travis the defensive guy of the day, just based off the stats that we looked at right there. Cam Coleman, Brian says. I mean, it's easy to give it to him, and I wouldn't fault anybody for giving him the player of the game offensively. But I think, to me, if you're going to ask me, my players of the game are going to be on offense, Robert Lewis, just because I liked how solid he looked as an upperclassman guy, as an option to go to this year, where we're trying to get these freshmen ready to play at wide receiver and figure out who else can help us who's been here. I like him as a potential offensive player of the game. Defensively, if you just look at the stats, you're probably looking at Quintrell, Jamison Travis, just by stats alone. You can maybe make a case for Kay and Lee too, but I'll go with Quintrell because we don't get to talk about him a lot. And then, of course, Towns Mago. Yeah, but we're about to wrap up here, but just popping in. Liked what I saw from Peyton Thorne today. Thought he showed improvement. Towns for the MVP. Hard to argue with an overall MVP there from him. You won't hear much fuss from me on that. But there you go. So a lot of other people kind of agree in similar fashions about who is the players of note. All right. Final thoughts, questions, comments, derogatory rebuttals on this reaction stream. Get them in now. Remind you of a few things. Final thoughts as well coming up, but do not miss this part of the show. Folks, got a lot of content we've already put out from A-Day weekend. Got a lot more. We filmed basically all of the plays. We'll be putting that out on video so you can see our perspective of them, so you can rewatch things like those Cam Coleman catches. We've already got, if you want to check out the shop that's here, the pop-up shop with all the Auburn gear, we got a video out about that, about the Fan Fest thing today. This is all about the Auburn experience here. So we got videos galore coming out. If you're not following us, subscribing on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the good things everywhere, you're missing out on something. So make sure you're following everywhere that you are currently. What's coming up next? Tomorrow is our main thing that I can show you right now because we don't have anything else prepared, but the Auburn Experience live recording. Normally, at 9 Eastern time on Sunday nights. Now, Austin and I have been discussing whether we will do it a little bit earlier since I am in town and I will be back in Auburn tomorrow to do a few things, whether or not we're going to do it live from his place a little bit earlier. I would say that is likely going to happen. He has not confirmed with me yet 100%, but be looking for that. Hope you can join us for the live stream of that, the live recording of the Auburn Experience podcast. And of course, we've got our Wednesday night show coming up later this week for our live call-in show. We'll talk about this some more. A baseball stream on Tuesday. Plenty of things for you guys to get involved with here, live stream and otherwise on YouTube and across the rest of the social media as well. Final thoughts here. Any questions? Let's see. Again, thank you for reminding people to smash that like button. Concerned with running, Carlos Davis asks. I don't know that you could say. I said if you have a concern, it's the lack of running today. But again, it's a spring game. If you saw it the opposite way, people would be like, oh, our rush defense is terrible. So it's a spring game. You're playing against yourself. You're playing a lot of – Jarquez got 4 carries. I think if Jarquez plays more, we feel a lot better about this. So to me, I'm not concerned. But if I'm unhappy about something, it would be that, just to be honest, just to be completely honest. Biggest takeaway from today – my biggest takeaway is that Robert Lewis is a legitimate option for us at wide receiver. That's probably my biggest thing that I walk away. Because when I say a takeaway, I think of something that truly sticks out to me other than the obvious. As much as I've tried to caution you on Cam Coleman, these are other takeaways. He looks the part. Through high school, through spring practice, he looks the part. We'll see how it translates come fall. And also, because this is the other big storyline, Peyton Thorne's your starting quarterback. It's over. Let me back that up. It is not over, but it needs to be locked into y'all's minds that he's your starting quarterback. And he needs to be treated as such, unconditionally. So that would be biggest takeaways. And then, of course, Towns Magoo. I keep saying Magoo. Not concerned with the run game at all. The O-line is still meshing. D. Wade is playing a new position, and we're learning a new scheme. I think those are all good reasons why you shouldn't be too concerned about it. But if you have to ask me to be unhappy with something, that would be it. Sam Jackson is my takeaway. It shocked me that he started. Don't read too much into the starting thing. It looked like the starters, but I think we're trying people. Remember, there's people who aren't here yet that may factor into that equation too, at whatever position we're talking about. So I think people, maybe why it's so shocking is because and I include myself in this, as much as I preach that we shouldn't do this, as much as we've obsessed about Cam Coleman and that entire freshman wide receiver class, you forget that sometimes these people you bring in from the transfer portal don't need to be forgotten about. Robert Lewis showed that today. Sam Jackson showed that in some ways today. So just be alert. Just be alert. Opponents won't be able to double team both Lewis and Coleman. I think that is going to pay dividends. Well, they're going to have to pay attention to Coleman, and if they don't, hopefully we'll have guys like Lewis, like Jay Fair, Caleb Burton, who's been injured. We didn't get to see him today. We'll get to see them also reap the benefits of that. All right, folks. Thank y'all for watching live. If you're just getting here, sorry. You can watch the replay. Thanks for being here. Keep in mind, I am still in Auburn tomorrow. Got more content coming out from you guys. The plan is to be at the tennis match tomorrow versus Mississippi State. So if you're just interested in seeing what that's like, we'll be sharing some stuff from there. And then probably going to be ending up at the baseball game for hopefully a series win or sweep, because I don't know how the game's going right now. So all that to be said, stay tuned with us. Thank you for being part of our little family within the Auburn family. I appreciate you being here and hanging out with us. Stay tuned with us even throughout the offseason. Got plenty of content for you guys to consume. Don't check out just because summer's here. So till I talk to you again, thank you guys, and War Eagle.